Now that we have knit separate rows of knit stitches and purl stitches, we are now ready to combine them into rows of knit stitches, followed by a row of purl stitches, followed by a row of knit stitches. When you knit a set of knit stitches all together, as you'll see in the piece that I'm showing you here, it is called garter stitch, and it creates a fabric where you have bumps on both sides, because each time you knit a row, you have your bumps go to the back of the work. So every time you work the other side, they go to the other side. And that is called garter stitch. It gives you a nice, plump, cuddly kind of fabric, obviously depending on the yarn you use. The next thing we look at is what happens when you combine a row of knit stitches with a row of purl stitches. As we have seen in the previous videos, when you do a knit row, the bumps go to the back, and when you do a purl row, they come to the front. However, when I knit one row, they go to the back, and then if I purl a row, that back becomes my front, and then my purl stitches come to that side. So all of your ridges go to one side. Now it can be a little bit confusing at the start, but there is more about backs and fronts of work. And so what you're seeing here is called stocking stitch, which is one row of knit, one row of purl stitches. It creates a flat side on one side, and it creates a bumpy side on the other. So let's see how this fabric is created. You'll see here that I am knitting my stitches, and by convention, when you're knitting in stocking stitch, you generally knit the row with the flat side facing you. It is often considered the right side of the work, but we'll talk more about that in the future. As you can see here, as I'm knitting the stitches from the left needle are slipped off and sit behind the work, so at the back of the work. So you can see that the flat side of the work is remaining the same and the bumps are all going to the back. We're going to knit to the end of the row, and then we're going to turn the work. Now as you turn the work, the facing you side becomes the front of the work, and you can see all of the little bumps that now sit there because of the knit stitches. We're now going to purl this next row. As we talked about in the previous purl video, when you're purling your stitches, the stitches from the left hand needle slip off and come to the front of the work. Of course, this was the back of the work before we turned, and that can be a bit confusing, but don't worry, it'll come with time. So now you can see that my purl bumps are coming towards me, and they are sitting on top of the bumps created by the previous row of knit stitches. And this is how stocking stitch is formed: one knit row and one purl row. When we go to working in the round, so when you do knitting in a circle, this will change, but for now, a knit row and a purl row, followed by another knit row and a purl row, is stocking stitch. An interesting point to note is that when you do all purl rows, it looks very similar to when you do all garter stitch rows. It is called reverse garter stitch. It is not as commonly used as garter stitch, but you may from time to time see it.